is not just a sensation. It is a biological alarm system. Special receptors, called nociceptors, are located in the skin, muscles, and internal organs. They respond to pressure, temperature, and chemical damage. When they activate, electrical signals travel through the spinal cord to the brain, where the sensation of threat is formed. This system works faster than conscious thought. If humans couldn't feel pain, they would lose the main feedback channel between the body and the brain, becoming organisms that no longer know when they are being damaged. Hi, my name is Yalera. You no longer flinch. You don't pull your hand away from heat. You touch, fall, hit things, and feel nothing. It sounds like a superpower, until you realize your body has stopped complaining. It's like permanently disabling the check engine light in a car. The engine is still breaking down, it's just doing it silently. And a strange question appears. If your body can't say something is wrong, how do you ever know that something is wrong? How does the brain detect damage? What happens to protective reflexes? How does control over the body change? What happens to tissue repair? How does the psyche react? What happens to risk boundaries? Can the nervous system function without pain signals? And what do nociceptors, the spinal cord, dopamine, stress, immunity, memory, inflammation, and habits have to do with this? You cut vegetables. Blood drips onto the counter. Not because you're brave, but because you didn't notice. Pain used to be an emergency alert system. Now it's gone. Have you ever kept walking with a blister? Now it's always like that. Your body can be breaking down while you calmly finish your tasks because nothing is beeping anymore. Pain triggers more than a feeling. It launches physiological cascades. Through the spinal cord and brainstem, stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol are released, increasing blood flow, raising blood pressure, and mobilizing the immune system. Without pain, these reactions don't activate on time. Damaged tissues continue to be loaded, inflammation develops quietly, and healing slows down. The body loses its ability to prioritize repair because the main signal that something is wrong is gone. Pain is tightly connected to the immune system. Damaged cells release inflammatory mediators, prostaglandins, cytokines, and bradykinin, which activate nociceptors and attract immune cells. This starts tissue cleanup and healing. If pain isn't felt, the brain doesn't receive a damage signal, and behavioral responses like rest and protection don't occur. Inflammation becomes chronic, and healing becomes less effective, even if immunity technically still works. Without pain, the brain stops understanding where normal ends and dangerous begins. You walk farther, lift more, push harder. It's like playing a game with no health bar. You don't know how much you have left until the character collapses. And suddenly you realize, pain was never the enemy. It was the quiet ally that always said, "Stop, don't go further." Pain is a core learning mechanism. Through dopamine and aversive circuits, the brain remembers which actions lead to harm. This forms habits and avoidance of danger. When pain signals disappear, neural networks lose negative reinforcement. Mistakes stop being biologically meaningful. A person can repeat destructive actions again and again because the brain no longer marks them as dangerous. In a world without pain, micro-injuries accumulate silently. Damage to joints, ligaments, and bones doesn't stop movement. Muscles keep working on worn structures. This accelerates tissue degeneration and raises the risk of catastrophic failure. Normally, pain limits load. Without it, the body becomes a system that runs at maximum until sudden collapse. Depressing pain requires interfering with the spinal cord, thalamus, and cortex. This is done using anesthetics, opioids, or neurostimulation. Completely turning off pain would require constant control over these structures, but these interventions are not selective. They also affect attention, emotion, and motivation. By removing pain, we inevitably alter the entire brain, turning treatment into a delicate balance between relief and loss of control. When pain disappears, not only the body changes, the psyche changes too. Fear no longer receives signals that something is dangerous. Risk loses its emotional cost. You no longer feel that you went too far, you just act. And suddenly, it becomes clear. Pain wasn't just a sensation. It was part of the body's moral system, quietly whispering, "This could break you." Nociception is built into the brain's architecture. Pain signals pass through the thalamus, amygdala, and cortex, influencing attention, emotion, and memory. These pathways shape behavioral priorities. Without pain, activity in these networks decreases, and the brain loses a crucial reference point for what needs protection. This changes not only what we feel, but how consciousness allocates resources between survival, action, and ignoring threats. In a world without pain, social norms change. People are injured more often without noticing. Healthcare systems face a surge of hidden damage. Workers, athletes, and soldiers exceed limits because they no longer feel them. Society must create external rules and censors where internal pain once worked. Pain is not an enemy, it is a boundary. It defines where the body's capabilities end and destruction begins. Removing pain does not give us freedom. It takes away our map. A human without pain becomes a being capable of going farther than biology can tolerate. A body without pain is like a machine without overheating sensors. The absence of pain feels like liberation. But in reality, pain is the language the body uses to speak to the brain. It is not about suffering, it is about survival. If we stop hearing it, we lose not a limitation, a guiding reference point. Sometimes, the very thing that interferes is what keeps us whole.
Pain reminds us that we are alive and that we have something to lose.
Subscribe, like the video, turn on notifications, and keep sharpening your mind.